both of you guys have a great energy, right? Now, when you're leading an organization or going after your dreams, do you guys find that other people, other winners, quote unquote, at the level of life that you guys play at, also are in an up energy? Like, I want to know, was that cultivated or you guys natural? I know Ed talks about being introverted a little bit. Grant, was that something that you like cultivated?
He just says that to connect to people. This guy's not an introvert. This guy is not an introvert, okay?
I'm introverted.
This guy at will can extrovert anytime he wants.
I agree with that.
Okay, and at will, he can introvert. You know, so like there is no such thing. If you can show me that there's a test that proves, any test on this planet that has ever validated an introvert and an extrovert. Again, we're back to labels.
Right, yeah.
If you can show me a test, I will give you $1 million in cash to do whatever you want.
What I would just say about myself is I enjoy.
But somebody told him, somebody gave him those terms.
Well, that's
somebody made up those terms.
By the way, you're very right. When I was a little boy, I would be introduced as this is Eddie. He's shy.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of validity to what you're saying. That was a label that was put on me.
A lady told a guy at the shop down here, the little one of the little grocery stores, told that to Sabrina when she was like 5 years old.
Yeah.
Oh, she's shy. I said, no, you're ugly. You're ugly, dude.
Right.
Okay, you're ugly. Don't tell my kid.
Yeah.
You take responsibility for my kid's response to you.
When I say that I'm introverted, though, I want to just be clear because I think people can relate to this. I enjoy solitude. Like I enjoy. I told Grant earlier. I said, "Hey man, you have people around you. Like I enjoy solitude. I sometimes enjoy my own company. I enjoy the Lord's company. Right? Like I enjoy quiet.
Right.
And so that's what I mean when I say that I'm an
You just have
introvert.
a tendency in that direction.
I love people, man. I was so excited when you reached out to me again. Like I love people. I was looking forward to seeing GC and Elena and Captain Ryan. Like I love people, but I enjoy solitude as well, right? I know that's part of what I enjoy. But
everybody enjoys people. Everybody on this planet enjoys people.
But Grant, in your mid-20s, before you started on your upward ascent, were you always an introvert? Were you natural sales guy, talker?
I was a guy that was driven to provide for myself and my family.
So that never subsided.
So if I have to go through my introvert, my fear, whatever, man. Again, these are labels. They're bullshit, made up labels. The depression thing these are labels. Okay, we're told we're these things. We're told we're shy. Okay, yeah, okay. Everybody's shy. He's shy. Drop me in a room where I don't know anyone, and I'm gonna bend to the wall. I'm not gonna go jump into the middle of the room. You know, Wake up, LA!
You've done that twice.
Yeah,
it didn't work either time.
But you know what I'm saying? I'm like I just do that stuff to because you do it when you're around comfortable environments. You know, people explode into their comfortable environments. The nerd. You ask the nerd, the introvert, the ideal, the perfect scenario nerd, right? He's on the computer. Ask him about something he loves. Ask him about that game he plays. That dude will freaking explode into extroversion.
That's true.
He's got passion for it,
So
energy.
in my mid-20s, man, I was like, I need a pair of shoes. Okay? I worked in a car dealership, and I was on concrete all day long, and my feet hurt, man. And I needed a pair of shoes, and those shoes were like $60. They weren't Nikes either. Okay, I needed a big. Show him your shoes right there, because it's got that nice. I saw him. He's got this nice big sole right here.
That's because my right leg's shorter than my left leg.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, everyone knows in my book.
that.
He had a tumor in my right calf.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So it balances my feet out.
Wow,
I didn't
know that.
So, but I was looking at the left one. I didn't even see the right one. So those are really good. That's what I needed at the car dealership. So I needed shoes. I didn't have any money, and I'm like, who's got my shoes? And so I'm like, I got to go call a customer. I got to go meet a customer. I had to go out into the environment because my feet hurt, man.
Yeah, so you're more focused on what you want versus who you are currently, right? Basically, that's what you're saying?
Yeah.
That makes total sense.
It's that thing about who's got my money.
And I'm probably the reverse. I'm probably more focused on who I am than what I want. And that's not bad or good. It's just, and you asked about energy. I do find that I think winning is an energy, and I think that influence is energy often. And I think that there are people that have it, and then there's people who have the ability to transfer it to somebody. Actually, let me reword that. Everybody has the ability. There are people who actually do it, though. And so you influence people with your energy. That doesn't mean like your intensity necessarily. I have some really great friends who have a lot of influence over me, whose energy is unbelievably persuasive in silence. They're so comfortable with themselves. And this is what I've told you before. I think you're a good interviewer. They're so comfortable with themselves they're incredible listeners because they're comfortable in their own space. They don't need to be speaking to feel valid.
Oh, so many interviewers do that, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and you do a wonderful job of that. I find myself even sometimes I'll watch my interviews back. I'm like, I wish I would just be a little bit more quiet, you know?
More Omar.
Yeah, more Omar-esque. And so I think that energy is important, and I find myself, I gravitate to people, not necessarily, I have a lot of really close friends who aren't high net worth people, but they make me feel a certain way, and that's energy, right? So I have, like, a lot of my friends, if you met them, they're really eccentric, strange, odd people, and I love them for that because their energy is just infectious. It's different, right? They're unique. I love unique spirits. I love people who express themselves like as they authentically are. They don't have to worry about being judged by me, right? So I do think energy is a huge deal in success. And I meet a lot of people. Just so you ever meet somebody like, I like that.
I love that energy.
Right,
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
that they make you, you're always making someone feel something. So you ought to be conscious of what you're making people feel. You can make them feel you're boring, or you're not successful, or you don't matter, or what you have to offer them is of no value to them. So you're always making me feel something. So successful people are just more conscious that they are making you feel something, and they direct their energy to make you feel what they think you should be feeling. And the most effective energy is when it's congruent. When it's actually what I'm experiencing, I can give that to you. So absolutely, energy is massive.
But every person that's ever made him feel like that came out for him to be able to meet them.
What do you mean by that came out? What do you mean?
They had to show up.
No question.
They had to be there, right?
No
they had
question.
to leave their home. Everybody's comfortable in their home. The old saying about no place like home. Of course, it's your environment. You created it. You know where everything is. It's a safe place. You know, after 9/11, homes in this country exploded. Like 9/11, people started buying homes like crazy. And they tied it to interest rates. They said, oh, they drove the interest rates down. Everybody went and bought homes. I believe what happened after 9/11 was people sought security and safety. If the world's going to come to an end, I want to be in my little cave with my family, and everybody just introverted immediately. I'll pay whatever it takes to have my own little space. All those people that Ed talked about, the eccentrics or the guy that made him feel a certain way, good or bad, they had to be in his space. They had to leave their home. Every great thing that's happened to me in my life happened outside my home, except for tonight. But I had to leave my home in Miami to come here to do this. So
Makes
even
sense.
there.
Gotcha. Okay, so how about this? A lot of people know what you guys have done in business because of the power of your salesmanship, your ability to sell, influence, persuade, give people value. What would be, for people listening, each of your guys' top 3 keys to be a powerful salesperson? Like takeaway notes, if somebody's got a pen and paper, or they got a business, or they're trying to build a sales team. What does it take to be a true 10x maxed out, phenomenal salesperson from the legends themselves? So Grant, you go first.
You know, I mean, number one, you got to commit to being a great salesperson. Like, if you're going to commit to, if you're just going to be an average salesperson, you're going to hate it forever. So one, you'd have to commit. Tiger wants to be a great golfer, you had to commit to it. So number one. Number two, you have to get an education on how to be a salesperson. Most salespeople just don't ever, they don't know anything.
What education would you recommend, or what education helped you? Was it books, training?
Let me guess.
On your way out.
Go ahead, let me guess.
I mean, there's no better education on sales than mine.
Right.
It doesn't exist on this planet.
Of course.
And I don't say that braggingly, I say it because it's true. By the way, Muhammad Ali said that. Look, if I am the greatest, it ain't bragging. It's true.
Well,
So-
how about on the way up, though? What were some things that
On
you
the
were
way up, I
considering
started
later?
grabbing everything I could, right? I started grabbing everything I could, and then I would take whatever I learned from Brian Tracy or Tom Hopkins or all those guys, right? And then I would study it. I kept a list. I was committed, though. And I kept a list of everything that happened to me, every customer. I hired my mom to work for me, and my mom would take notes. I said, all I need you to do is take notes. She would sit across from me. I was in this desk, and I would close deals, and I said, you sit there, and basically, this is pre-recorders and stuff. You take notes of what's happening, right? Yeah. And at the end of the day, I would literally look at the notes. When you said this happened. When that said, blah, blah, you know.
So she would take notes of your sales?
Yeah, and I would, you know, yeah, exactly. I would take phone calls. Like I was a student, committed.
And this is even when you were kind of broke or kind of like figuring it out, right, on your way up.
I'm starting to figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm 25 years old, committed. I hated sales, hated it. And I'm like, I cannot lose another job. This would have been my 7th job. And I'm like, I'm going to commit. Before I quit this sales game, I'm going to get great at it. Then I'm going to quit. That was the whole plan. And once I got great at it, I'm like, I don't want, who wants to quit something they're great at?
That makes sense.
So, and I started winning. So the third thing I would tell you is, you got to, in the sales thing, you have to learn how not to be emotional. The price is too high. I don't want to do it. I'm not interested. You have to be almost Dr. Spock. Not be emotional. Keep following up. Hardest thing to do is to not be emotional. So
do you still find yourself getting emotional about deals?
Oh, of course, man.
Yeah.
I mean, when you said that, I just ran a list of like 17 guys that I still haven't closed.
Yeah. Makes sense.
As soon as you said, hey, don't be emotional, I thought about it. I didn't close that guy. He's in Boston. I worked this deal, that didn't happen. Okay. I'm working this angle over here, this didn't. All these deals that I have stored up in my inventory of losses, they're accumulated losses. And this is what happens to the salesperson, right? They get all these losses and they start lowering targets.
So what does you think that you did that maybe other salespeople didn't? Because there's people hungry out there in sales. Obviously, you got a good pulse on that industry.
Yeah.
What do you think most people do wrong? Even the ones that are hustling, grinding, going all in. What are they doing different? What is it that you figured out that most people haven't? Really? So it's that simple?
I don't know if it's, I don't know. See, I think people need to define what commitment is. For me, when I commit to something, the next two things that will happen is it will be on a schedule, requires time, and I will invest some money. All commitments, for me, require time and money. If I don't write a check, I'm not committed. If I don't take time out of my calendar, I'm not committed. So if I want to work out, okay, my body's starting to cause me some problems, right? So I'm like, I'm committed to taking care of my body. Mm-hmm. What did I do? Wrote somebody a check, show up at my freaking place every day at 7 o'clock, and I'm going to work out. Okay, that was 4 months ago. I've missed 5 days in 120 days. That's commitment, time and money.
Right. Let me ask you this last question on that, because someone actually wrote in specifically asking, and Ed, you can chime in on this too, on your response. When should somebody, people get into sales, they kind of suck for a long time. Maybe some people are natural, maybe some people aren't. When should people admit, hey, maybe I'm not the best at this, let me move on to a more stable income, versus should they push through? I mean, for somebody struggling, I'm sure you guys can understand, maybe you guys have built sales teams where you have people on the fence. When should someone take a good, honest look in the mirror and say, hey, maybe this isn't for me, let me maybe focus elsewhere, versus let me just go all in and figure this out? What should somebody be evaluating when they're on the fence like that and they're kind of in uncertaintyville?
Well, I mean, they're on the fence because they ain't committed.
Yeah.
Really, so it just goes back to that.
It's not working because they're not committed. Like, you're looking at other things you can do. I mean, that guy that asked that question is looking at other things he can do. I invest in real estate. I don't invest in stocks. I don't do bonds. I don't do stocks. I do nothing but real estate. So I'm committed.
Why real estate?
Well, I don't want to move it into a real estate conversation, but the point is, I'm committed. I find a space and I work it. I work it over and over. Okay, it worked for me in sales. Hey, sales is my gig. I'm not gonna be the big app guy. I'm not gonna be the Facebook guy. I'm not gonna be the Silicon Valley guy. I'm not that guy.
Right.
So I can do a sales job. I'm 25. I'm broke. I'm in debt. The world needs salespeople. It is a job I already had. I just took what I had. Then when I got good enough at sales, I'm like, I need to invest my money. For 25 years, all I've invested in is real estate. Like I just commit to a couple things and just groove it and grind it and push it and shove on it until one day I get to hang with Ed and you.
Makes sense. So Ed, how about yourself?
Well, there's a lot of great information there. A couple things. I think one level of influence is this. I think people mistake some things, and we'll talk about some specifics. The first thing is this. I finally figured out that I'm not trying to completely convince you of everything I'm saying. I'm trying to convince you that I believe what I'm saying. So I think there's a subtle difference when you're influencing people. People think to close you, I have to convince you to believe everything I'm saying. I don't believe that's true. I think I have to convince you that I believe what I'm saying. Right. That's a totally different level of influence. It looks less like a beggar. It looks far more certain, which is level 2. Level 2 is the more certain person will always influence the least certain person, and you know your product. So you should be more certain about it than they are, or your program. So a couple things about that. All kinds of things give you certainty, okay? Number 1, preparation. Knowing your script, knowing your product back and forth, believing in your product back and forth, knowing that you know the words, knowing you know what you're going to say it's a dance. This is very interesting to me when people struggle at sales. There's only like a certain amount of objections you're going to get in whatever your industry is. You already know what they're going to say. It's one of 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 different things. You ought to be ready to respond to them. So most people in sales are professional presenters. They're not professional closers. So they're great at their presentation. They can't close. And so I got really good at closing because someone's going to close somebody. Either you're going to close me, you shouldn't, or I'm going to close you that you should.
Yeah.
And so the more certain person's going to win. If you just want to accept that truth, that one, you got to believe that I believe what I'm saying, not that you believe. People buy things all the time and say yes to things all the time that they don't necessarily believe everything about. They believe the person presenting it to them believes it. That's a different level. Number two, someone's going to close someone. You had better be certain. There's so many professional presenters in the world. Very few people get skilled at being able to professionally close somebody and persuade them to say yes, right? I finally moved to where I'm not here to visit you. I'd like to be friends with you. I hope that we connect, but I'm here to get you to say yes to what I came here to get you to say yes to. And so that was second. And then the third thing I think overall is that you got to run large numbers in business. So I'm not suggesting that you blow off every single appointment, but people say, I'm grinding. I don't know anyone who grinds really hard. I don't even like that word, but that runs large numbers, okay? They get people to believe they believe what they're saying. They're completely loaded with certainty from their skills to their product knowledge to their belief to overcoming objections to closing to whatever it is. And third, what you think is large numbers, what you think is grinding is another person's really slow day.
Right.
And so when you really get after something, listen to me, total immersion in something, you can become unbelievably proficient at it. That guy who's thinking about quitting, he's not totally immersed.
Yeah.
He's not totally in. Let me give you an example real quick. My dad's got cancer. You know that. Grant knows it. My dad has something called liposarcoma. I think Dad's okay with me saying that now. 3 years ago, if you'd have said the word liposarcoma to me, I have no clue what the hell that means. I'm not an oncologist. I know nothing about cancer, right? All of a sudden, it became important to me. I became completely immersed in the topic of liposarcoma. I know what causes it, what treats it, what you die from it, how it doesn't grow, you name it, right? I'm not a cancer doctor, but I know a ton about that topic because it became so freaking important to me. If you really want to win, you'll get unbelievable at getting people to believe you believe it. You will be loaded with certainty from product knowledge to belief to skills, and you will be completely immersed with, I believe, no B plan. No other plan, no nothing out, completely immersed in it. Aside from dunking a basketball or hitting a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, these are things that are limitations to human beings. But average, ordinary people every single day succeed in the business of persuading people. There is no limitation to you being able to do it except those things and the things that Grant added as well.
Regardless of your personality or type, you know?
Right.
Yep.
But you're not going to go through all that if there's no payday. Why would anybody go through any of that if there's no payday?
No, it makes total sense.
So there's got to be a payday. Like I know great salespeople that have the potential to be really, really world changers. But their goals are so small. They settle. You know, I spoke at your event. I was really just talking to the front row.
He was. He was talking to the most successful people.
I was like, hey, I just want to talk to the most successful people in the room.
Yep.
You guys quit. You settled out. You stopped.
People's will to win is easily bought in life. And it's bought two ways. He and I have talked a lot about this. He keeps telling me to write this book, but you got to just ask yourself in advance. Here's what people do all the time in business and life, okay? They're constantly negotiating the price they're paying. They're in constant negotiation in their mind. Is this worth it? Can I go through anymore? I don't know. It's so hard. They're constantly negotiating the price. This zaps your energy. It zaps your certainty. It zaps everything from you. If you're going to win, negotiate in advance that you will pay any price required, that you are not for sale, as long as it's legal, ethical, and moral. Once you've done that, when I was poor, I'd walk into stores all the time. I wouldn't buy what I wanted because I was poor. I'd be flipping price tags over. What's it cost? What's it cost? What's it cost? I wouldn't get what I wanted. I'd get what I could afford, right? I'd negotiate the price. Okay, if you do that in your life, you'll eventually be bought. You will either be bought by failure because it's just too big a price, or worse, this is the one he's talking about, you're bought by some level of success. You get some price tag, they give you your number, and they buy your will to win, and you stop getting after, you stop going to the next level. Both are insidious. The obvious one is people who just sell out their will when they're failing. The other one is for the people in here that, oh, wow, now you're at 250 grand a year. Oh, wow, now you hit your big number, you're at $1 million, and your will was bought. If you really size up the really top level at anything, they can't be bought. It's like the heavyweight champion. How many guys, It's one thing to win a title. I coach a lot of UFC guys. One thing to win a title, totally different deal, man, to repeat. And to repeat again, and to repeat again, and to repeat again. And to go win in another weight class and another weight class. That's a whole different deal. It's one thing to win a Super Bowl. A lot of guys have won a Super Bowl. Totally different deal to win 5 like Brady. Totally different deal to win 6 like Jordan, right? Totally different deal. Their will to win could not be bought by the losses or the wins. This is the separator from the best at anything.
Now, do you
But
find that
LeBron came to LA. He didn't come here to win rings. He's not going to win a ring here. He came here for the money. He said it. He said it the night they lost. He's like, they're like, hey, what are you going to do? You're going to own the. You're going to come back and buy the Cleveland, the Cleve team. And he's like, man, you know where I'm at on the pay list. I'm like number 6, man. I got to get my money right. I told my wife that night. I said, he's going to LA. Guarantee he ends up in LA, because the money's here for him, right? Now, whether he can win another ring, maybe somebody comes out of another team. They got a plan. But he can't do that by
All
himself.
the Laker fans right now are going, just give him Kawhi Leonard, or give him Chris Paul, or give him somebody, and maybe he could pull a title. That's the other element, right? The great leaders in all different endeavors are the ability to collaborate and bring people onto their squad, onto their team that are better in certain areas than they are, right? And that'll be the separator for LeBron here. Because I love Kobe a lot, but Kobe did have a hard time later in his career of getting great players to come play with him. Right? And so that'll be the separator for LeBron, is can LeBron get great players to come play with him? I actually think he can, but it remains to be seen.